Welcome to We the World and our 2025 Manifesting the Dream event. Each year we take time to remember Martin Luther King Jr. and his beloved community. And each year we are thrilled to feature the many people and organizations who have taken action to be of service, not only in January and February, but all year round. We at We the World welcome you to take action and be of service at we.net/MLK from January 15th to February 28th. Please join us in being a part of this annual celebration and consider being of service in your communities and with us. Of course, donations are very appreciated at we.net/donate. My name is Jana Larsen, and I am the HR Deputy Director of We the World. And today, my guest is Krueger. He is a pragmatic futurist, a transformative leader, and a best-selling author dedicating to advancing peace and peak performance across education, business, and global initiatives. With over 45 years of experience, he has worked with schools, universities, corporations, and communities worldwide, integrating wisdom, innovation, and practical strategies to inspire meaningful change. As the in-spirit and founder of the Peace Lab and the Peacemakers Circles Network, Kurt fosters personal and collective growth through interactive engagement, resilience building, and action-driven leadership. With a global outreach and an authentic, heart-centered approach, Kurt is known for his ability to teach, inspire, and connect diverse communities. His work is rooted in actionable insights, helping individuals and organizations cultivate peace, resilience, and success. A dynamic speaker and educator, Kurt's unique blend of insight, playfulness, and impact driven leadership makes his work both profound and memorable. Welcome, Kurt. And what are we going to do today?
Well, I get to live up to that incredible introduction, that's for sure. But to, I
You
appreciate.
wrote it, though, didn't you?
I can't help what happened in the past. I can't help things right now, and I welcome you all with great respect and love. This is a time when love is so valuable to experience and to share. We can't share it if we don't experience it. Just putting your hand like this, knowing that right here keeps you alive and allows us to experience more of the meaning of life. We're not here to simply make money, simply eat food, like who doesn't like it? We're here to be able to be together as one. So we do have two hands coming together as one. And when we do that, because this is an interactive program, so we get to be able to act this way. We can experience life just doing this simple practice here, rocking back and forth to the side. We could go forward and back and do the same thing forward and back, but we'll go to the side because we're sitting in a chair for one thing. It's easier to do. And if you're standing, like maybe Jana is, no, she's not. Okay. If she were standing, we could even do another practice, but we'll get to those physical practices on in our conversation. What I'd like to ask Jana to do is maybe prompt me with a particular part of your life that happened today that you would like to see differently.
Hmm, that's a good question. I wish I would have remembered to send you the Zoom link.
Me too. I told you we were one. So that made it easy. The beautiful thing is, when we look back, we can say we wish we had. If we reflect on that, we can see what we can do to be able to change it. And oddly enough, I came upon something that I never thought I would recommend to my children or to anybody else's children. You know what it was? A computer game.
Hmm.
Why I want my children to play a computer game? They're fun and it's busy. That was one of the points I didn't want to recommend it for because it keeps them busy, not exploring life, but busy having their eyes focus on something too close, too much of the time. And if the eyes focus on something too close, too much of the time, do they get to be more myopic? Or do they get to be able to have their full range of vision when we're out walking in the woods?
Well,
When,
what about both?
what about what?
Both.
If you can do both, cool. But imagine this. They did a study, and it was actually produced in a program that Greg Braden gave, a 4-hour program about this book. Much more information than is in this book. And that showed that when children, for an hour and a half, I think it was a day, looked at the virtual reality or looked at their screens for an hour and a half a day, their visual uh, cortex in their brain got to be bigger. Isn't that great? What happened to the other parts of the brain? They began to atrophy. If you don't use it, you lose it. I remember when people knew hundreds of people's phone numbers. Do you know your neighbor's phone number? Or your
I barely remember mine right now, and I never was good at phone numbers. Except I can remember one phone number.
411
No,
or
it was my
911.
home phone number. And I remember my address, but only one place. I remember one teacher. Yeah.
You have the power of one.
Yes. That's good, right?
It is a good book anyway. But the thing is, what we can do with it now is that we can play with it and we can use technology, but we get to use it, not be used by it, not be have it control us, but us control it. And we found in this Pure Human, the subtitle is The Hidden Truth of Our Divinity, Power, and Destiny. This body, without any implants of AI or anything else, this natural human body has more computing power, more memory power, more accessible power than any AI can ever have because it is only in material, hard, wired kinds of things. And it's proven in the new research that's been coming out that Greg Braden exposes in this book. I'm talking about scientific research. So it is proving what the ancients have said. We learned from Mother Nature. How did people find plants that were beneficial for them to be able to heal this, that, or the other thing? Well, they burnt some women at the stake at one time because they knew women were intuitive. Women had senses that the men didn't quite have because they were going out hunting. But the women had to take care of the kids and prepare the fire and prepare all kinds of things around the camp. When
We
you
were multitasking even then.
who we are actually never multitasking. We are taking a task momentarily here, then, and another thing. As we're doing it, we get a lot accomplished. My wife is an expert at doing so many different things, but it's one thing quickly at a time, as opposed to me, I'm a chill dude.
Are you a children?
Well, I've almost killed two people in my life, sadly. I had a temper at one time. I had
No.
standing right in front of me in high school, my senior year in high school. I almost got kicked out. He was talking about my mama, and none of the things came close to my mama. I started to laugh at him because he was so stupid. He couldn't take it. He hit me. Oh, don't hit me. That's verboten. That's against the law. It is against the law. But I took the law in my own hands. So I knocked him down, sat on his chest, and bounced his head off the ground, broke his head open. Thank God the hospital was next door. They took the guy to the hospital. They patched him up. I had to pay my parents back because they had to pay the hospital. It took me a long while because that was expensive. But because my mother was the dean of discipline's secretary,
Kurt,
I don't usually expose that particular craziness of this man or anything like that.
my goodness.
And look at me now. I've been meditating since the 70s. I had a master who got me into a state of meditation on a hijacked airplane, automatic weapons, hand grenades, plastic explosives. I was able to help a lady next to me who was an old lady. Of course, everybody was older than me. I was only 33 at the time. Uh, So she was shaking as we're coming in for the landing and breathing funny. And I grabbed her arm and said, "Calm down. Everything will be okay. The Lord's taking care of us." I didn't know who her Lord was, but she calmed down. And I started doing what she was doing. Well, they took me out of my seat and so on and so forth. It's another story. Just stories happen in your life and they're past. But what do we get to do? We get to learn from them, use them, and move on and share what works as opposed to what doesn't work. That's why people who have experience can pass on some wisdom if they ever get it. Some people never get it and pass it on to the other generation so they don't have to make the same mistakes. So they can be chilled out. Like right now, you cannot count how many yoga studios are in Los Angeles now.
Because there's so many.
So many. When I was starting to teach yoga in the early 70s, I actually brought it into a worst school in America. I was breaking up a fight a day, taking away a weapon a week, and it had the two biggest black gangs, two biggest Latino gangs in the country. And so I got to be able to teach yoga in the strength room, in the weightlifting room, and have to move things aside and so on. But we did it. And I also taught at the start of class, in a history class, how to be able to meditate. And I told them why, because it concentrates and calms your mind. It allows you to open up all your learning centers and so on and so forth. And the first few couple of weeks, I taught them how to breathe properly and just focus on the sound and the movement of your breath while I'm handing out the homework or I'm collecting the homework or I'm writing on the board to be able to have what they're going to do today and so on, taking roll. During that time, they got to be able to chill out. They got to come into the classroom and be present.
What decade was this?
What?
Decade. Was it the
This is
70s?
the mid 70s is when I started doing that. Yeah, 1974. I started doing that. And it was there were like 5 yoga studios in Los Angeles. 5.
Now there are 5 on each block.
Just about. And so many people in business. I even brought it into business because of being able to teach stress management to them and peak performance practices. I started the Institute of Sports Psychology. We had 5 offices at one time to be able to create peak performance in business, but we had 5 offices of the Institute of Sports Psychology. I could go anywhere in the world because there was one in Bombay, one in Tokyo, we had one even in Stockholm, one in London, one in Los Angeles. That's 5. Uh, and so whenever I wanted to go somewhere, it depends on the season, of course, uh, I would be able to go. Then we started Success Systems International, and that was for businesses and education and other areas of life to bring peak performance to there. Now, what do we want to be a peak performer in? We started the Peacemaker Circles network. First of all, we started the Peace Lab. It was like a laboratory or a labyrinth. And we got to be able to teach people through podcasts different ways to create peace in music, in all kinds of areas, in politics, in economics, and whatever it was that can bring peace to life. Boom, boom, shambo. We have this amazing ability to create it in every instant. Like Johnny Appleseed to throw a seed out here or another seed there. Wherever we go, we plant seeds of smiles. When people smile, what happens?
Smile back.
It's addictive, isn't it? And it feels good. And if you laugh, what happens? Holy cow, you even feel better. And that's how I designed a happiness class at a ghetto school, teaching kids how to be happier. Kids years later were doing the homework. Why? Because it worked. They wanted to stay happy. So they did the homework. It was real simple. Laugh for a minute every day. Maybe when you first get in the car to go off to work or to school or wherever. Of course, when you're driving down the road and you're laughing, people start to laugh because they see you laugh or whatever. They're in the other car.
Wonder what's wrong with you, maybe.
Everybody else will think that too. Some people think all kinds of things. So,
Where were you in the 60s?
where was I?
Yeah, were you in Boulder then?
I was in Boulder in 1966 to 69. I had to stay an extra semester because I competed in swimming. I had to do a work study, so I was also hashing. I was working around the dormitories, and I was also having to be able to graduate. So I had to study too. And so I did. I barely graduated, but I had 3 school records in swimming. I uh, had 3 major. I had basically 2.5 majors. I had history and physical education as the primary majors, and classics is a minor. And I
Really?
love classics, classical literature. And then I got to be able to find that was Western classics. Then I got to find out about Eastern classics. And it's like I died and went to heaven. They were the source of the Western classics when you
Mm-hmm.
look closely. And the time periods that they were about, they were the source of it because of the communication of the Roman Empire with the East. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
but at any rate, I digress a little bit, but that's the
Well,
nature.
I wanted to, my reason I asked you that is because I was in Boulder at that time too. I was younger than you,
Okay.
but just a little bit younger. Um, but so you were on the hill area.
Yeah, of course. I was on the hill every night. I love the sink. Sink was my dad.
Oh, I have a friend of mine from high school. His family owned that, the sink. And yeah, anyway. So you know about how wild it was on the hill in the 60s.
Yeah, I do. Yep, I was not exactly a real quiet young man.
Oh, I'm sure. But so those were just, I mean, those were pretty eventful times. And so I remember my dad would drive us around so we could see what troubles those those people up on the hill had gotten into, with the riots and everything, and don't you ever be like that, and all that. But it was happening in a lot of places around the country, and and especially like in Kent, near Kent, where I am now. Kent was the oh, you're doing something. You're doing, or you have
Oh,
restless legs. I was just talking about the civil rights movement and all that was going on. And Kent,
and
where I ended up getting my degree, was a school that was really
shut up.
singled out as being the model, like, about like it was the worst anywhere. Of course, there were a lot of bad things about it. But anyway, should I be doing that? What am I supposed to be doing here?
Well, we'll talk about that. I just did a little bit. What's a little bit is okay right
I,
now.
I get up and do that a lot because I have back problems, sciatica, and all
You know
that. So
why? So often we are too stagnant. The human body is not meant to sit so long. The average sitting time of a human being is maybe 15 minutes. A normal human body does
mm.
not more than 15, at the max 20 minutes.
Well, I know if you're a mom, you never get to sit down and rest. So
I hope not. But see, that's why you last so long. Men will die before you, right? Usually
yeah,
for the women.
they're sitting.
I'm not kidding. This is all true. I mean, I
I
can,
know.
yeah.
But I
So,
want to ask you something when you were talking about like, so I'm thinking about computing, um, and I think that, like, when I think about how different kids are growing up today, because, I mean, from my kids on, I'm talking about, they grow up with being able to know how to work on computers, and my one child was doing PowerPoints in fourth grade. I still don't know how to do a PowerPoint presentation, but now I'm trying to catch up and learn so I can do my job. And one thing that I'm doing is trying to learn a lot of languages because I want to keep all those, you know, little things in there working and making connections. But I'm walking too.
well, the language is good. You can do these technological ones like Duolingo or whatever
I
one.
do. I'm learning 18 languages
Why?
because
Are you going to use them?
I don't know, but I'm interested in it. And so I want to learn.
Oh, then if you want to learn something, why don't you play a game?
What kind of game? I play the piano.
It's interesting. Oh, that's great. Music and playing an instrument, fantastic. I only know four Indian instruments, and I don't know an American one. But the thing is that it's really good for anybody to learn a musical instrument. And the most, do you know what the most important instrument there is in an orchestra?
The clarinet.
Let's bring on Brigitte and ask her.
She doesn't
Brigitte,
want to be We're putting her on the spot.
putting her on the spot. If Brigitte has an idea of the most valuable instrument in an orchestra,
Percussion. Violin.
Violin. I
Cello.
was just about to say violin too. Or horn. I have no idea.
violin and all that, right?
Violin?
No, tuning fork.
Oh,
Well,
you were funny. You tricked us.
clarinet is the instrument that the whole orchestra
It's an
tunes off.
instrument.
Hold on a second. Is that considered an instrument,
As
though?
an
No, it's
instrument,
not.
it is.
The clarinet is what the whole orchestra tunes off of, I'm telling you, or the oboe.
I
Actually,
thought
the
it was the
clarinet and
violin.
the
That's
oboe.
okay. But the
I
violin
know
might be
because I
considered
was
strict.
in both. Was this
So
a joke?
that little answer, what did it bring? It brought some smiles, about some discussion. Disgusting.
What was the last?
I said, and we didn't get disgusting. We got
Oh.
discussion, but not disgusting.
Mhm.
How could we?
So there's where I wanted to mention about this playing games, because the
Okay.
game I found out about today. You talk about a cosmic coincidence. Today, write down the word Elowen, Elowyn. I'll
Wait,
repeat it.
Elowin.
YN.
Why?
Elowyn. And it's
Okay.
Quest of Time. And it's a
Really?
game. It's a computer game of all things.
Oh,
So you know what my boys said when I recommended it today?
they said
Today,
they already knew about it?
I never ever thought I would hear you recommend a computer game to us.
Oh.
And I said, the times they are a changing.
It's a new world.
It is. And this is a new game. Many people in games will get hooked for hours sometimes on a game. This has a game lasting 5 minutes. Win or lose. But guess what? If you lose, you're ruminating over how to be able to be successful the next time. What is it that allowed you not to be able to win the game? But the game is not like these games where we kill the bad guy.
Not all games are about killing.
This is a very fascinating game. I don't want to actually expose it any more than that, because it is the most challenging game that gets, like I said, somebody pondering a little bit more during the day while they walk out into nature. Like I'm at a beautiful place. I can look out and here's a barren hillside, not barren, it does have plants on it. It's called St. Bartholomew's Canyon, and it will never ever be built on. And I can look at a San Fernando Valley, and there's at least 1 million to 1.5 million people living there. And yet I'm on the fringe of the urban corridor.
Sprawl. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on the rural part, and we've had fires come up onto our property. That
This
happened.
last time, too?
That was a mile away. That was the closest fire. The closest big fire was only about 5 miles from us. But we've had fires come right up onto our property, and we're actually finishing up a lawsuit. And that should have been settled a long time ago. This is 7 years since that fire. That's another issue. We're here about peace. So I want to give the biggest, most important, most valuable way to be able to bring peace that I have ever found. Are you ready?
Yes.
I want you to do this 3 times a day for 3 times. We're going to do this. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want you to just lean forward. Put your hands on your lap. That's it. Elbows are bent and so on. And as you're bending backwards, breathing in, we're going to bring our fingers to our heart. As we breathe in, we're going to say, thank you for peace in everything. And you touch your heart and let your heart touch your fingers. And as you bend forward, you're saying, everything as peace. Thank you for peace in everything. Everything as peace. We're just rocking back and forth. Thank you for peace in everything. Everything as peace. Because as we go forward, we're saying as peace. Why? Because we felt that peace inside. How did we feel it? Well, the heart started to touch the fingers, and the fingers were touching the heart. When that happens, magic happens. the connection happens between the heart, and because of what you're repeating in your head, there gets to be what's called heart coherence. The neurons in the head, I don't know if you know it, but there's neurons in the heart. The neurons in the heart are activated by that touch, by that peace in everything, everything as peace. Everything gets to be as peace because we've given the good vibrations out and we get good vibrations back. And in giving them out with that statement, we're thanking a higher power, whatever your higher power is. Allah, Buddha, God, who knows? It may not be something, it may be just the idea that there is a higher power. And that could be the conglomerate of people. Because when people come together, there's an incredible force that's available for the good. Around these fires that happen, incredible amounts of good came from that. My son is still distributing shoes freely to people who were burn victims. They got active shoes, comfortable, active shoes, because that's what he deals with. He gives them away to them. Other people were giving fancy shoes. You don't want fancy shoes when you don't even have a home. You want to be comfortable. You've already been through horrible times. What do you want to be in these fancy shoes for? Or some other thing? So practical things are so important. And that's why we give practical practices. That's why it's practical, is we get to bring it to life. And that's what peace can be. Peace is more practical than war. There's every single element proves that. When we focus on peace, and look at how powerful peace is. When we have a vision of peace, look what happened to these incredibly powerful countries. Russia, America. What happened in Afghanistan to Russia? What happened to Afghanistan for America? We had superior firepower. We had all these military, incredible numbers and so on. Who won? Afghanistan. What about the Ukraine? They're still in a war with one of the most powerful countries in the world. Why hasn't it been defeated? They have a truth force, satyagraha. Gandhi said satyagraha. Satyagraha means truth force or the force of truth. When the love is present, that is so powerful. That is like worth spreading. That's why our incredible gift of a friend of mine designed our logo. This is our logo. I can get off screen and do that easier. There you go. So you see our logo. That's the logo for the Peace Lab, for the Peacemakers Circle. Excuse me, the Peace Lab has a different symbol. This is an open
I
heart.
like the color too.
Oh yeah.
The way it sort of nuanced. It's not all one solid color.
Yes, definitely. And the hand is open where? To the front, forward. It's open heart,
Yes.
paying love forward, gifting people the love. It's that open hand of gifting. And what is the only force that allows peace to exist? Love.
That's what I was going to say.
I had to take it out of your mouth first. I didn't want you to do too much exercise.
Too much thinking. Pressure. Oh no, the pressure.
Like everybody thinks they got to say the right thing. Sometimes people make mistakes. Lord knows I sure did. I mean,
Oh, I'm the queen of bloopers.
holy schmoly macaroni. There's no doubt about it. And ah, the gift of forgiveness is so powerful. I have a friend, his name is Azim Kamisa. Azim is such a great soul. He had a horrible thing happen to his family. His son was delivering a pizza to a place, and the gang initiation happened. When he opened the door, the gangster who had to be initiated by killing somebody shot him with a shotgun and killed him right there. His only son, who he loved so much, who was going to be going to college anytime. And he spent 2 years of intense, intense suffering. And then he realized through a gift of communication from somebody about forgiveness. This man is so amazing. He not only forgave the dude, he visited him in prison, got him out of prison because he was supposed to be there for life, and he was only 14 years old when he killed his son. But he was sentenced as an adult because our incarceration system, our penal system, is really a penitentiary and makes people suffer instead of transform. That's why when I was teaching at Stockholm University, I gave a program for the Swedish prison wardens and priests and how to bring meditation into prisons. They did it because it changes people inside while they're inside. And when they get out, they're different. This is what happened with this young man. He got changed because of the love that Azim was giving him. When he got out, he gave him a job he named his institute after his son. And they go around to prisons and they go around to places and give talks. We had him come to Uprising Together. It's an organization here in Los Angeles that I am a advisor to. And he gave an amazing talk.
That's restorative justice.
Yeah, that is totally. And I've been part of restorative justice community in Bellingham, Washington. That's been going on for years. And they're doing amazing things that stopped a prison from being built. I should say a jail from being built that was almost the size of the biggest prison in the state. And it was going to be a jail for that county. They'd have to fill it. Well, who do they fill it with? The poor, the transients. Why? Because you're not supposed to be there, and so on. Why are they there? Because we're spending money on that instead of this. Spending money on it, putting people in prison. Prison guards get more money than teachers do. What?
I know.
So
Makes no sense.
we practice, excuse me, we're getting into we're focused on too much negative already, way too much.
But you brought positive into it.
We did, but we get to be able to bring it in more and more and more. Focusing on what we want is what's going to get us what we want rather than what we don't want.
Don't have. Yeah.
Everything that I see on, let's say, my big, let's say, social media platform is Facebook. I know it's old, but who isn't? And I never got into doing LinkedIn. I'm on it, so to speak, but I don't do anything with it hardly at all. It's really an amazing little tool that I get to be able to use as best I can. Every time I get on this, I see so many things about the worst thing that Trump is doing or the good things that Trump is doing. And some of the things I agree with, getting the deep state out, because the deep state's been there forever. How he's doing it is, I think, a little bit different than should be done. But
A little bit?
I'm
Being
being,
facetious?
at any rate,
See, I'm laughing.
I hope so. Uh, the classic thing about us is that I will send out to him that we know that the country is in trouble. We get to come together and focus on what we want together and talk about it. Because I have neighbors that are locked and loaded. I have neighbors down in the canyon that were at January 6th and got pardoned and so on. When we start to talk with each other through what's called building civic bridges, there's an organization called, there's actually an act that, a bill that's up in Congress called the Building Civic Bridges Act. And it demands of Congress to act as mediators and with mediators if they need it, and talk with each other to solve the issues rather than blaming and shaming and all of that, to be able to solve the issues that the people need solved. The people need it. Now, they're only talking about themselves because they want to get elected again. When we have something else called ranked choice voting, ranked choice voting gives everybody's ideas about who should be voted as a candidate and as a person who actually gets the thing. All of them gets a choice. If I have a number one choice, let's say it was Trump, I want Trump number one. I want this guy number two, Pence or whatever two, and this guy three, and then way down the list maybe Biden for me. But they're in an order, and certain ones get certain points. And when the whole country does that, we would have more of the people we really want rather than the ones that have only two parties backing. We would have people voting for the real position the person has enacted in their past rather than somebody who's lied about what they do or want to do in the future. There's so many ways that we can do things. I can put these kinds of things in the chat, and I don't think that was one of them that the podcast chose to be able to select as my notes, but who
Well,
knows?
I've heard of ranked choice voting, and I've heard it can be very successful. So that's definitely something that needs to be done. That's for sure, because this isn't working.
Well, we have a 200-year-old system. Why is it that we haven't innovated? Bucky Fuller says that if we want something that's better, we got to create something better, creating a new paradigm, creating a new system, and show that it works, and it'll make the other one atrophy. It'll make the other one disappear. Why? Because this works. Now, when you show to the people of a community the value of helping homeless be able to be educated, helping homeless live in homes, they've proven things over in Finland about such things, and early childhood education over there, and how well it is, and not even having homework. Yet they have the highest rated education system in the world, Finland.
How did the women do there? Better than here?
Oh my God, the women, listen, in the Scandinavian countries, now one of the things they say, oh, but they don't have mixes of races like we have. You know what? All the women I know, black, brown, or yellow, or whatever you want to call them, are wonderful women that I know, are women. And when we talk about loving children, they love children. They love their children. They love anybody.
And there are black and brown and yellow and green and purple women in Scandinavia.
There is not near as much as here in America and other places, but
Mhm.
for America is that we have the rainbow colors. And then they want to make the rainbow look bad because, oh, this one side wants to say the rainbow is bad because, they're lazy, and it's all lies. It's all something that one little cult has taken over, and that one little cult is running the country right now.
Not so little,
That's
but
why
yeah.
that's why the ranked choice voting is so valuable. And when people find out about it, they want to go for it. It's a step in the right direction. There's
Nice to think that there would be something that could work instead of where the way it looks like it's going, but maybe we shouldn't go there.
there's also something called one small town. A small town by Tellinger, Michael Tellinger. He's a guy who started the Ubuntu Party in South Africa. He's a
Mm.
genius. He also knows about the Anunnaki if you're esoteric and all that. But this man created the One Small Town Initiative. He's got people living in these small towns around the world that are creating their own, in a way, currency, their own way of making their community a community, common unity. That's what community is common unity. We think a community is separate from that community and all that, and we're all isolated. But in effect, we become the microbiome for the macrobiome. Those small towns add up into a nice bigger community of what? Nice people helping each other, knowing that collaboration works and cooperation works. Little bit of competition in how we can improve peace. How can more peace be happening? What kind of a competition is it? Well, I have an initiative. It's called the World Fest. The World Fest is a big festival that happen all over the world. And what happens when everybody's partying together on the equinox? Which equinox? The fall equinox in the northern hemisphere. So the September equinox, we'd have to say the September equinox because fall is different in the south. I know more people live in the northern hemisphere. That's why we're choosing it as the warmest equinox. The spring equinox isn't always the warmest. The fall is usually the warmest. So if it's the warmest, we can have outdoor activities, we can have parades, we can have dances, we can have all kinds of things happen outside. We can have the concerts outside in Central Park or in Los Angeles at Griffith Park or at all kinds of different parks we can have it at. And have multiple venues in some of the towns. They would, when it gets to be full, it would start with maybe 3 to 5 big towns in the world. It would be live streamed with incredible bands that everybody knows about, but local bands too, up and coming bands too. Why? Because you want to fuel the music industry in your community, not just showcase these super famous people. So we upgrade that. There's a parade to be able to open the whole thing, and the high schools are participating in that, and they're feeling good about you know playing their instruments or dancing or singing or marching or whatever they. I mean, it's a whole inter cooperative game activities outside the park, like and what's it called? It's the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Outside the Coliseum is a big park, Exposition Park. And outside there, there's cooperative game activities. There's ethnic food in these nice food trucks or whatever. And the common food truck guys are going to get it instead of one of these big conglomerates. These these people are then getting to be able to fuel their families and participate in something that's positive and listen to the all positive music being performed instead of kill this or do that or whatever it might be in some kinds of music. And there would be themes each year, a different theme each year to create more different kinds of and then there'd be theater. Certain plays would be performed specific for this. I mean, it was like they've had, oh, we got so many things that we can do to be able to upgrade peace in life and life in peace.
Beautiful thought.
Well, how do we manifest it? That's the biggest key. And this key that is this LON quest of time game may be one of the answers to it. And
I'll
this
check it out.
this Peacemaker's Miracle practice can be an answer to it. And the switching can be an answer to it. If people want those things, get a hold of me. Get a
All
hold,
right. Well, how
join,
can they get a hold of you?
join the Peacemakers Circles network. I can put in the chat what how to be able to join for free. And like the We the World, we live on donations. I I don't get any money that comes in is always used up right away. I don't keep anything for myself. The only thing I want to do is to be able to eat and to be able to, I basically, there's no skin on my teeth for some reason. I get by without any skin on my teeth. Well, I'm still getting by, aren't I? I'm still healthy and holy, at least getting to be holier. Holding in my head, that it is. Holding my
So you
mouth.
have the Peace Lab and the Peacemakers Circle. And is there another thing? Or are those two are the
Well, I'm
two?
also on the Rotary E Club of
Yeah.
Peacemakers. So the Rotary Club, there's a number of Rotary clubs that are totally focused on peace. One on Tuesdays. This evening, there's a meeting at 6 o'clock, 6:30 California time,
Peace
Pacific,
through Unity.
and that's the Rotary International Peace Club.
Oh,
And
that's so you have that, and then you go to Peace through Unity with Ben Bowler too?
that's Wednesdays. That's at 3 o'clock in
Oh,
the
that's
evening.
Wednesdays? I'm so confused with what day it is.
Well, see, I attend a lot of these peace groups, and I actually have been able to pass the positive peace uh, course that the Rotary had, and I didn't pay for the certificate, so I never got the certificate. So I quote never really graduated, but I went through that course, and I should actually be teaching a lot of the stuff. But that's another story. It's okay. Inshallah, I don't need any degrees. My PhD is in playing happily daily. If you can't play happily daily, what good does the piling higher and deeper degree have?
Well said. Well, it's fun talking to you always, and you always have so many peaceful, positive things to say that I don't know if you ever have a bad day. I can't imagine you ever being grumpy or mad or anything.
I had one bad day.
One bad day,
One bad day, and it was
like 30 years ago. And
it was fairly recently, and it was after I had gotten actually some PTSD from the Saugus High School shooting, and and I went in for a particular thing, and I ended up having uh, relived too much of it
mm,
in a way that brought up all the things that had happened in my life, so to speak, that was in a way negative. And then I was able to catch that after the day. And I guess I let myself, quote, suffer enough. And then I just switch. Oops.
that's right. Well, we can all learn a lot from you.
If anybody wants, actually, I did mention, I think earlier, not when we're on the talk, about I have 4 books, and 2 of which became bestsellers. And they're all called Winning Ways. It's book 1, 2, 3. And the 4th one is a compilation of the first 3 and more information and practices. And I highly obviously recommend the last one. Just buy that one, period. It's called Winning Ways for Living. And you can get it on any of the platforms. You don't have to buy on Amazon if you're against Amazon or what. People do boycott that, and that's fine. But boom, boom, shambo. We have something to do. I also have some a YouTube channel or two YouTube channels that people can look at things that I've collected, not only of mine, and there's one that has most of mine, but also of all kinds of people. And I love a guy named Jim Carrey. I mean, this guy was an incredible genius, but he's also an incredible being. And he's
Jim Carrey, the actor, or Jim
yeah,
Carrey, somebody else? Okay.
a comedian, yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gave one of the best graduation talks I've ever heard to MIU, my
Oh,
Mahesh Yogi's university.
wow. Well, we could talk forever, but anyway, let us peace come to us.
Okay. And then we also do the peace salute.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
we don't go like this, we don't go like this, we don't go like this, whatever it might be. We see the world as it is. Holy cow. From the perfect comes the perfect, and all that remains is perfect. That means it's all love. Holy cow. Zoom peace, and you throw the love out to the world, and it brings peace.
Right back at you. Thank you, Kurt.
Love you,
It's
my
always
dear.
a joy to talk to you.
Jana.
We'll try to get all that information down so that we can have that with our product here. And to our audience, thank you for joining our broadcast today and getting to know more about Kurt. And remember to please join us and take action via service at we.net/MLK. And donations are gratefully appreciated at we.net/donate. Goodbye from all of us at We the World. Thank you for being here.
Ciao.